Welcome back, everyone. Well, many people think that spring is pollen season, and pollen actually comes from the ragweed plant and can cause real problems in the fall here. Dr. Aaron Robinson joined us now from CHI Health to talk about this. Aaron, thank you for joining us today.
Of course.
So when we do ragweed allergies usually flare up in people?
So this is the beginning of ragweed season, and it's going to go all the way through November usually. It's difficult because it's a weed that's everywhere, and the pollen can travel 400 miles. And so you don't even have to live next to a big ragweed patch to have allergies to it. It's going to be in the air this whole season.
So you can always kind of have those little sniffles maybe coming up here this time of year? Well, what are some common symptoms then? Is it the sniffles? What do we got going on?
Yeah, it's a lot like allergies you might have in the spring when the trees start to bloom. So scratchy throat, runny nose, itchy eyes. Sometimes people will get hives and other things like that.
I know COVID is not as prominent this time as it was maybe last year this time, but just how do you kind of determine the differences there?
The biggest way, or the most important way, is how you feel other than just the scratchy throat and runny nose. So are you having a fever? Do you have body aches? Do you feel tired and run down?
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, if you notice some of those symptoms, what should you do in those scenarios?
The easiest thing to do for pollen or ragweed allergy is simple over-the-counter stuff. So nasal sprays, nasal rinses, like with saline, some of the over-the-counter allergy pills. That'll help for most people to resolve those symptoms.
You don't have any out of the left field, ways that you got to treat this?
Well, if it doesn't get better with the simple stuff, then you can move on to things like allergy testing to see if you specifically have an allergy to certain things. And then that leads to other things like allergy shots and things like that.
Okay, well, and what are some proactive steps you can take to kind of avoid these allergies?
Well, probably the most important thing is avoidance. So if you know that it's going to be a bad allergy day, you look at the forecast, you see that there's a high pollen count, and you're sensitive, that might be a good day to stay inside. If you do have to go outside, making sure to kind of cover up, wear a hat, wear sunglasses to keep the pollen out of your eyes. And when you do get home from a day outside, for example, if you work outside, take those clothes off and take a shower. Wash all that pollen off.
I know we're talking about allergies specifically, but flu season's also upon us here. Just what are some tips you got for parents and kids out there, going this back to school and get all the germs coming back at you at once?
Wash your hands, keep your hands out of your mouth, and masks are a good idea. If you're going to be in a place where you might be exposed to somebody, or there's going to be a lot of people coughing, it may be a good idea. We learned during COVID that when you wear masks a lot, people tend to get less sick, especially in kids.
I'm a heck of a time keeping my 3-year-old's hand out of his nose, or fingers out of his nose.
It's nearly impossible.
It's a hard time. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks.
All right.